From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reported tonight,
Bimbo Oloede.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Lagos Economic Summit begins with state government unveiling its plans to make the city the nation's electricity hub. Former Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili tells Nigeria to learn from Georgia by overhauling the customs and the police in the nation's fight against corruption. President Jonathan asked police to redouble its effort in the fight against terror. And Michael Adebolajo launches appeal against whole life term for murder of UK soldier Lee Rigby.
And on Business News tonight, World Bank approves $140 million for Nigeria's community development projects.
And tonight on Sports News, Europe's biggest club competition, the UEFA Champions League, produces its first two semi-finalists ahead of Friday's draws.
I'm Linda Akibe, and from Abuja, House of Representatives summons the Minister of Defense and Inspector General of Police over killings in the north.
If Nigeria must improve its power situation, it must build a team of people who are truly committed to putting an end to the challenges facing its power sector. At the opening ceremony of the 7th Lagos Economic Summit, Engbeti 2014, the host governor, Babatunde Fashola, highlighted some of the achievements recorded so far in the area of power development. Our correspondent, Bisi Koka, reports.
Lagos State accounts for about 65% of Nigeria's commercial activities. It also plays host to more than 2,000 industries of various sizes and descriptions. With its growing population of 21 million and counting, there's no doubt that the time has come to tap into the huge opportunities for investments in the power sector, and the Lagos State government is using its 7th Economic Summit, Engbeti 2014, to harness the sector's potential.
We all know we're not yet there in 24/7 power supply, and indeed the current wide gap between energy demand and supply presents huge opportunities for investment in the power sector. The opportunities are as exciting as they are lucrative.
Giving examples of some of its recent successes, Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola talks about the impact of the two power plants built by the state government.
Power plants in Alausa and the one on the island, which were constructed in the aftermath of the last summit, enabled us to employ 259 people. Island Maternity, where incidentally I was born, is one of those facilities that have benefited from the IPPs, and these are areas where we can make only very restrictive impact, embedded generation, but 14 schools have been connected. Lion Building Police Formation and Zone 2 Police Formation have also been connected. So we have not only impacted hospitals, we have impacted learning, we have impacted security.
Agriculture has, since 2008, enjoyed a higher percentage of our budget. Indeed, between 2011 and 2013, the allocation to the agri sector grew by 84%. We have some laudable initiatives in that area, and we're very proud of the achievements, especially with respect to youth involvement in the business of agriculture.
Tapping into the success story of Lagos State in many areas of its economy, Southwest neighbor Ogun State is willing to partner with Lagos, especially in the area of agriculture and housing.
Our primary objective is to feed Lagos, and in feeding Lagos, you know, our agriculture will boom. And once that happens, our economy will begin to boom as well. We are not just only aspiring to feed Lagos, which we have started, but Equally, we want to house Lagos. We are doing that as we speak. And that is why, if you notice, you will realize that about 60%, and I make bold to say this, of course, is the middle and the lower cadre of the workers. They live in Ogun State. So we ask ourselves, let's attract those high top echelon staff, people that works in Lagos to still come and be living in Ogun State.
The Lagos state government intends to use this year's summit to accelerate economic growth through power, agriculture, transportation and housing, described as critical areas of social needs of the people. BC Koka, Channels Television News.
Well, speakers at the ongoing 7th Lagos Economic Summit are of the view that the state government can partner with the private sector to achieve sustainable power generation. Our correspondent, Bolaji Akinwale, reports that this premise was echoed today during discussion on the topic, how can electricity delivery to Lagos be accelerated?
Power is key to the sustenance of Lagos as the country's commercial nerve center. A former Minister of Power, Professor Bath Naji, talked about the need for the states to build reliable power infrastructure.
I believe that embedded power, ring fencing, is a way to quickly achieve power production. You have Egbin power plant, quite all right, within the state, but that power plant is for the national grid. What you want is a power plant dedicated to Lagos State.
The question that has been raised at this event is how can electricity delivery in the state be accelerated? This plenary session provides some answers.
Lagos State essentially is a collection of, is a metropolis, a huge metropolis, I would say, with various localities in there. So why don't you have a subsidiary of Eko Disco focused only on Ekpe, another one focused on Etiosa?
Beyond the building and distribution of electricity, Lagosians and indeed Nigerians are advised to protect power installations across the country.
Everything that is on ground, if we destroy it, we are destroying ourselves. People that take transmission line and cut and sell in the market, somebody is buying this thing somewhere. Somebody is obviously interested in the disruption of the system, not to make it work.
For a city of approximately 20 million people, the government of Lagos State have shown the importance to concentrate on a vital aspect of life, power generation. And if the deliberation at this year's summit is anything to go by, Lagos may sure be on its way to record a remarkable growth level with endless possibilities. Bolaji Akinwale for Channels Television News.
And one of the lead speakers at the event was the former Georgian president, Mikhail Saakashvili. Using his country's experience as an example, he said no nation can move a step ahead unless it decides to tackle corruption head-on. He advised that reforms begin with changing the mindsets of people against corruption. And this led him as president to sack the police force and the customs. According to him, this is where Nigeria should begin.
That's our biggest experience. In 2 months into my presidency, we decided that it was hopeless to reform our Georgian police service, and in fact, we fired all of them. So for 3 months, my country had no police force left. And you would be surprised, but crime rate didn't go up. Because it turned out that police was very much part of the problem rather than the solution. We also changed the customs service and tax service. It was a hard change. Either you believe in your country or you don't. Either you steal or you don't. Either you build something for everybody or you just build something for yourself. Nigeria in general as a country, it's as, in a way, as perfect as imperfect, as it looks as perfect as human race should look, as imperfect it is, basically. Because everything together, it's really so much human energy. You feel it every second of it when you step on this land. Amazing human energy, amazing euphoric force that can be turned to good. but it really takes leadership to do it. It's very hard to tame it and to ride this wave, but once you ride it, you make it.
Well, for more information on the summit, here's Sulaiman Al-Lede joining us live from the venue.
Well, many thanks, Bimbo. We're still here live at the venue of the 7th Lagos Economic Summit, and joining me on the news at 10 is Bola Adeshola. She's the MD CEO of Standard Chartered Bank and also the co-chair of the Lagos Economic Summit Group. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Well, quite an interesting moment we had today. Let's look at the assessment. Loads of discussants, as well as the former president of Georgia. How would you rate today's session?
I think today's session was about really setting the scene. We spoke a lot about what's been happening in Lagos State, transformation through power. The journey has begun, it's going well. And of course, the very inspiring presentation by the former president of Georgia as to how it was done in Georgia, how they transformed the economy through power.
And for those actually looking up to what will come out of this whole session, for instance, it ends on Thursday. Going forward from what we've discussed today, setting the agenda, what do we hope to look at tomorrow and the day after?
Well, tomorrow we'll be looking at how power impacts transportation, how it impacts agriculture and housing as well. We will also look at the challenges of gas supply and possible solutions as to how we can overcome that in Lagos State, and really about moving to the next stage with the IPPs. So really it'll be, the objective of the summit really is to contribute towards the economic agenda of Lagos State and to give ideas and suggestions. And if you look at the track record so far, probably over 90% of the suggestions that have come out of previous summits have been implemented successfully.
And today's session also saw Nigeria's former power minister, Professor Bath Naji, and a couple of other individuals who also spoke on the need for private participation and, of course, governments.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about collaboration between the public sector and the private sector, and we've seen it work in other sectors. We've seen it work in telecoms, and we're seeing evidence of that in the power sector as well. The recent privatization really is about government giving up some of its assets to the private sector, and definitely we expect that these companies will be run properly, and we all know that if power is fixed in Nigeria, really the country will definitely explode in terms of further economic development.
Well, one last thing here, the informal sector. How can this also impact, development in the informal sector?
In fact, if anything, it probably will help the informal sector even more. We have SMEs in particular. I mean, we saw some of the stories today of people, hairdressers, butchers, and so on, who have been, challenged to run their businesses efficiently because of the lack of adequate and constant power supply. I mean, it will completely unleash, so much potential in those sectors. And I think that really the bedrock of the economy is the SME sector. Once we fix power, we fix that, and our great country can only just continue to grow and rise.
Well, Bola Adeshola, we'd like to thank you so very much for joining us on the news at 10. Well, Bimbo, back to you in our studios here in Lagos.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sulai Al-Lede, reporting live from the summit venue.